What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com. We're going to take one final look at this game before it kicks off on Saturday, 2:30 ESPN. Arkansas, Texas A&M. Southwest Classic, last time in AT&T Stadium for, I guess, unless they do something stupid and schedule this game again there. So we'll take one last look at it. Jeff Tarpley from Gig'em 24/7 is going to hop on with us. Danny West, of course, from HawgSports, and Connor Goodson from HawgSports as well. All that more on today's episode of HawgSports Live. A lot of ways to watch and listen to the show. Of course, you can listen to us on Google Podcast, or not Google Podcasts. I was actually about to say Google Podcasts, I believe, does not exist anymore. So no longer there, obviously. But we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just about anywhere else you can think of. Podcast platforms are dropping off the map, aren't they? Is Stitcher still around? I don't think it is. I got to redo my little things down here because no more Google Podcasts. So, yeah, but we're on Apple Podcasts where you can throw us a 5-star review. We'd love to have that from you. And, of course, throw us a thumbs up or a like on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, where we're also streaming right now on Instagram. And we certainly appreciate all that stuff. Also, HawgSports is just is 30% off right now, $627 a month. Billed at just $75.18 for the entire year. That's a discount of $44.22 at HAWGsports.com. Let's take a look at the game. Arkansas is +4 right now. That line, I guess, has moved. Somebody told me I was doing a show with Harold Bugg and Brett Beard in Alabama, and they told me the line opened at 11.5. Is that true? I haven't seen that. I thought maybe 4.5, but right now Arkansas is +4. The money line is +155 for Arkansas. Some interesting bets on Bet Saracen. Jaquindon Jackson to go over 13.5 rushing attempts and over 109.5 rushing yards. I don't hate that one. +200. Taylor Green over 199.5 passing yards and over 69.5 rushing yards. That's +275. Don't hate that one either. They also have NCAA first quarter anytime touchdown score special. You get Jaquindon Jackson at +475. Arkansas defense at +2,000. Wide range there. Anyway, thought there were some interesting lines on there. Interesting bets. What's the over under? I haven't even looked at that. 52. 52 is the over under for it. So the last injury report, as we know, this gets released every Wednesday around between 7 and 7:10. It's an official injury report. And even though Connor Weigman is listed as questionable for Texas A&M, I would just be really stunned if he played. Now, AC joint injury, for those who don't know what that is, you remember Brandon Allen, sophomore year when Arkansas won like 3 games, I guess, but he dealt with that injury all year long. All year had that injury and wouldn't practice during the week. He still got a bump on his shoulder from that injury on his throwing arm, but wouldn't practice all week and then played in the games, basically is what happened. He might have thrown just a little bit, but they basically had to rest him up over and over again for games. And the reason he played is just because Arkansas didn't have a backup that they felt good about. And the difference here is they have Marcel Reed at Texas A&M. So they can play him. I would be surprised if we see Weigman at all this year, really. I mean, that's an injury that just lingers all season long. So I think we're probably going to see Marcel Reed. Bryce Anderson, the defensive back, is probable for them, along with questionable with Connor Weigman is Anai White, defensive lineman. Reuben Owens is out. Tyreek Campbell is out. Mark Nobu Jr. is out. And center TJ Shanahan is out. So that's notable. For Arkansas, Monte Harrison is probable. Jalen Braxton's questionable. Hudson Clark is questionable. Ty Washington is questionable. And Tyrell Reed Jr., the running back, is questionable. Patrick Kudus is out. Miguel Mitchell's out. Andreas Posca is out. Shoffrey Brown is out. And Rashad DeBinion, as we know, is suspended for this one. So that's the latest injury report for both teams. If there are any changes, they will be updated Thursday night. They'll be updated Friday night if there are changes. And then again, at 90 minutes before kickoff, we will see, regardless if there are changes or not, a final injury report from both teams. Texas A&M is number 12 in the team talent composite. They have 43 4-star recruits and 7 5-stars. On paper, this shouldn't even be close, right? Arkansas has 27 4-stars and 2 5-stars. They are 26 in the team talent composite. So a bit of a gap. What's crazy is Arkansas is 26 in the team talent composite. That's only 14th in the SEC. Pretty wild. This series has gotten ridiculous, obviously. Texas A&M or Arkansas leads the series all-time 42-35-3. 42-35-3. This was before Texas A&M entered the SEC. Arkansas led this 41-24-3. That's what happens when you lose 11 of 12, which is what Arkansas has done since Texas A&M has been in the SEC. Utter domination by the Aggies. Texas A&M has won 9 of the last 10 games that were played in Arlington. Obviously, we know a few games weren't, 2 in Arlington, 1 in Fayetteville. But this is the last time. 7 of those games have been decided by 1 score or less. By less, I guess, I guess technically a safety would be, but there's a 2-point game in there. Arkansas has not taken advantage of opportunities against freshman quarterbacks. Really, first or second year quarterbacks, I would say, kind of are in a similar. Like if you consider like a first year or second year quarterback, so a freshman, redshirt freshman, or a true sophomore in their first year starting, Arkansas has not taken advantage. This game is always played very early in the schedule. And Arkansas, like if you go back, obviously Johnny Manziel was maybe a different type of guy. Obviously won the Heisman Trophy that year. But Kenny Hill, Arkansas fell there when he was a true sophomore. Kellen Mond was a true freshman. Arkansas lost that one. Kyle Allen was a true sophomore. They lost that one. And then Marcel Reed now. So if they can take advantage of that one, you've got to take advantage. You've got when something comes along like that, an opportunity where you have a guy in his first year taking over a program that had dipped. It wasn't like the coach moved on to bigger, better things. The program's stable and everything. Jimbo Fisher was fired for not performing. You bring in a new coach. You have a redshirt freshman starting quarterback who's starting his third game. You got to take advantage of that. So when opportunities come along like that, you got to jump on them. And I can tell you right now, there's a great opportunity right now, right in front of you with Ozarks Go, because you can get 1 month for free with the promo code BIDDY1 if you go to ozarksgo.net/hawg. That's HAWG. If you're disappointed in your internet service, or if you just wondered if there's something better out there, I can tell you that there is. It's Ozarks Go. It works consistently. I don't have glitches. I don't have outages. It doesn't bleep in and out on me. And I'm like, what happened? Or any of those issues. As I've said, I've never plugged and unplugged my router modem. I've never done that before. It just works consistently. 479-684-4900. The local people think north of the tunnel, parts of Oklahoma, expanding everywhere, Rogers, all that kind of stuff. And it's a local company, so you will talk to somebody local if you choose to call them. But you can also find out if they're available in your area by going to ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG. Take advantage of great opportunities. And that's one. Okay, let's go to Jeff Tarpley. Are we ready to go to Tarpley now? I told him about noon. So Jeff Tarpley, let's give it a couple minutes actually, because I told him about noon when I would get to him. So we've gone over team talent composite. Oh, yeah, this is okay, so this is obviously a homecoming for several Razorbacks. I don't know if we really touched on that on the Game Week show on Monday, but you've got your leading passer, Taylon Green, your leading rusher, Jaquindon Jackson, and your leading receiver, Andrew Armstrong, all from the DFW area. That's wild. Like, one of the keys to victory is, have those guys have a great homecoming. And you've also got a couple of other key players that we talked about as questionable. Hudson Clark is from Dallas, went to Highland Park, and Jalen Braxton's from Frisco, which is also in that metro area. So you've got a lot of players from that area. There are other players from that area too, but those are some key guys on this team that, I look at the Auburn game and how they fought for Travis Williams, because that's his former school and everything. He played there. He coached there also. And they really fought for him. So I wonder about a letdown. Is there going to be a letdown at all? And what Arkansas has to do, because football is an emotional game, as we know, and we talk about human nature and things like that. It's natural to let down from getting high on stuff like that to dropping down to, even though it's Texas A&M and it's a rivalry and you want to win, there's still things that play, and you need something to rally around, I guess is what I'm getting at. And to me, you got to rally around your quarterback, your running back, your wide receiver, Jalen Braxton, Hudson Clark, and anybody else from that area who's got people in the stands, because there's going to be a lot of people that just come to see them play. And that they're probably going to try. Now, you can't try to do too much. We've heard people say that Taylor Green maybe in that UAB game was just trying to do too much and, worried about how he was performing too much and not just playing. So you can't do that, but you got to rally around your team. And this could be something that you can point to going back home. I mean, there's plenty of other things. Texas A&M absolutely dominating this series, winning for the last time in AT&T Stadium in front of Jerry Jones, a former Razorback. Obviously, all of those things could play a role. All right, let's get to Tarp. Jeff Tarpley has been doing this for at least as long as I have, maybe longer. I just know that he's been around ever since I've been around, back from our days at Rivals and our days at now at 24/7 Sports. You can follow him at 24/7 Tarp. He is the senior writer at Gig'em 24/7. Tarp, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Tarp, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been covering Aggies?
Following since probably I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And then covering them for about a quarter century. So 25 on the covering part, 50 on the following part.
Well, I just know you've been doing it at least as long as I have. I've been, I'm kind of like you. I grew up in Arkansas and followed the team my whole life, and then have been covering them professionally for 21 years. I just know you've been around at least as long as I have. So, hey, let's just jump into it, man. I just we're not going to stray too far from some of the questions I'd asked you on Behind the Enemy Lines feature, but what is your thoughts on the quarterback situation at Texas A&M with Marcel Reed, Connor Weigman, and just what we could expect?
Well, I think with Weigman's situation, it's kind of a week-to-week thing until he and the training staff decide he's ready to play. With issues with your AC joint, that's something that is problematic. It's week to week. And I think when Mike Elko says, hey, we're optimistic about him, we'd like to see him back, the fact of the matter is it's going to be a game time decision for a while, maybe the rest of the season. Marcel Reed, he lacks the experience, but then Connor Weigman's only started about 10 games. So he doesn't have a great deal, much more than Reed himself. Reed's going to do things differently. He's probably going to be more likely to jump out of the pocket. Weigman's going to try to stay in the pocket, try to get the ball down the field. It was really interesting last year before he was injured. Bobby Petrino told him, hey, look, we want you to get this ball down the field. We want to generate big plays. This year, he's still kind of doing that. Marcel Reed, on the other hand, is going to be not quite a one-read, take-off and run guy, but if the protection's not there, he's more likely to try to get outside, especially if an opening comes up, outside the edge, outside containment, get going. He's got really good acceleration. He's a tall kid, but he can get from one place to the other in a hurry, and he can turn the corner on you in a hurry. So when you're rushing him, you've got to stay in your rush lanes. That's paramount with him. If you do not do that, it's going to be really problematic because he can get outside, and if your guys are playing man and they're chasing receivers, they're not going to see him. He's going to be 30 yards downfield before you know it. He's got really good vision. If he does break containment as he showed against Florida and you get him outside of the pocket, he can see the field well enough that he's going to get the ball to people who are down the field, who may be adjusting their routes or doing whatever in terms of, hey, look, I know I was supposed to do this, but Marcel's running around, and so now I've got to adjust my route and try to work my way back to him. I think it's going to be very fascinating to see how A&M, what happens if they go with Wigman, if they go with Reed. They can run the same offense with both quarterbacks. The game plan for Florida probably wasn't much different than, they didn't have time to change it up for Reed. They had to run what they ran, and they ran a lot of different things. So they might call different plays to take advantage of Reed differently, but otherwise it's going to be the same. It's going to basically be the same offense. You've just got to defend the quarterbacks differently.
Every time I say Wigman's name, I'm like, oh, I don't know how to say his name. I say Wigman or something. I just kind of scramble. But Wigman is the name. So what are the most important injuries this week? Obviously, we got the injury report yesterday, but in your opinion, for a lot of Arkansas fans, they're just names, but which ones are the key ones?
Bryce Anderson is probable with safety. He went out the other night. TJ Shanahan, who started at center, is out. A&M is now starting its third center of the season. That's had a few, given the fact they have to keep plugging people away in at center, they've actually been quite functional. Their pin and pull running game hasn't suffered very much. Bowling Green played pretty well last week up front in terms of what you want to see from being gap sound, from maintaining your assignment, not overrunning the football. So A&M it took A&M a while to get going in the running game. Reed's legs helped in that regard. But yeah, the center position, they're just, everybody's kind of like, oh my gosh, it's another center. Otherwise, Shamar Stewart, the end, who was banged up last week, he's not on the injury report. I think in terms of the guys that are out for the season, Mark Naboo, the center, who was the starting center for the season, again, they're working on the third center. And then Tyreek Chappelle, the corner, who was A&M's best corner last year. He's probably been A&M's best corner since he's been on campus. They played him outside. They played him at the nickel. He was done before the Florida game. And so A&M is probably not as well off in the secondary as what they were before. They've had some struggles. They haven't played badly or anything. They just, struggled at times. Florida threw some crossing routes off play action when they came back in the second half against A&M. A&M probably had some communication issues in terms of handing people off or knowing exactly where, who to pick up. They had a coverage bust last week that resulted in Bowling Green's fine tight end Harold Fannin not only getting behind the defense, but then he was able to evade tacklers the rest of the way on a long touchdown running catch. So you would like to see Chappelle back there if you're an A&M fan. And those, at least at this point, from an official standpoint, those are the most problematic things.
I'm going to get you out with this one. Arkansas wins if, and Texas A&M wins if, and then how do you see it playing out?
Arkansas wins if they run the ball well, because what A&M is going to do in its pass rush is they're not, they may blitz you, but it's still a pass rush that seeks to contain, keep the quarterback in the pocket, and just have that pressure evolve to the standpoint that the quarterback gets uncomfortable and throws the ball away, or maybe A&M can get a coverage sack. Can Taylor Green deal with that? If he wants to break contain and get outside, he may find it problematic to do so. So I think from a strategic standpoint, that helps A&M in the matchup. I think that's something that Arkansas has got to be prepared to adjust for. I think if they win, then they're successful at blocking A&M to the point that either Green can get the ball down the field accurately, or that A&M makes enough mistakes that Green is able to make things happen with his legs. But if Green's able to make things happen with his legs, if Arkansas's run block, if A&M has some of the issues we've seen in the run defense, just from a technique standpoint, Arkansas is able to get them blocked up on their gap runs. A&M's not able to make plays behind those pulling linemen, and they're able to run the ball well. The flip side of that is A&M going to be able to run the ball well? Because can Arkansas contain Reed? I think for Arkansas, they have to be able to contain Reed. They have to be able to get a turnover off of him. This is a guy who coach's son doesn't, for a young guy, he does not put the ball in harm's way. He will pull it down and run it. Now he doesn't throw it away, but he will pull it down and run it if nothing's there. So I think from Arkansas' standpoint, they've got to find a way to turn him over. They've got to find a way to run the football, and they've got to slow A&M's running game down. On the flip side, A&M, it's business as usual. They just, they run the ball, strength against strength. A&M's rush offense, Arkansas's run defense. Reed makes some things happen with the legs, not just in the running game, but as we saw against Florida when he broke containment, he was able to make bigger plays in the passing game. In Arkansas, secondary is vulnerable, and it seems like they don't have a great pass rush from a numbers standpoint. And so I think if those things happen, then that's a path for an A&M victory. I'm going to pick A&M 24-17 simply because A&M's won 11 of the last 12. They've won all but one as well at AT&T. But generally, I think all but two of A&M's wins have been by one score. A&M always seems to make one more play than Arkansas does. The games have been wacky. They've been entertaining. And I will say this is the one thing that does catch my eye, and I wrote about this at the start of the week. There's always big plays in this series. And they're in the same game. And they're back to back to back almost sometimes. A&M's had a little bit better athletes and a little bit more speed. They've had guys like Christian Kirk and Anai Smith and Devon Achane who have been able to torture Arkansas fans with that speed. A&M really doesn't have a skill guy like that this season. Except maybe Terry Bussey, and it may be a lot to expect out of Terry Bussey, who's a true freshman, either as a ball carrier or in the return game. However, Arkansas has Andrew Armstrong and they have Isaac Santana. So can Arkansas turn the tables on A&M? Because remember, Arkansas's only win in the series is when Traylon Burks went off. He was Arkansas's answer to Christian Kirk and Anai Smith. Can Arkansas has probably the two big play guys in this game. Can they get those guys to go off? Because that's been the trend. The team that gets those big plays ends up winning the game, no matter how back and forth it gets. Arkansas's got a little bit of advantage this year. Can they make it happen? We'll see.
Jeff Tarpley joining us. Appreciate you, Tart, man. Thanks for the insight.
No, thank you guys for the opportunity, and
we'll see you in Arlington, right?
Yes, sir. Bye.
All right, brother. All right, everybody. That's Jeff Tarpley with Gig 'em 24/7, senior writer over there. Follow him at 24/7 Tarp. Where do we want to go next? Let's take a quick look at this. Connor Goodson broke this down. Texas A&M, I think some of their numbers are kind of misleading a little bit. Like they allow 129.8 rushing yards per game, 180, which is 62nd nationally. So very middle of the pack defense overall when you look at the numbers. But I just think there's so much more than the numbers when you look at them. Mike Elko is a really good defensive coach. People kind of scoffed. I brought this up before. People kind of scoffed when I brought Elko's name up as a potential candidate for the Arkansas job back when Chad Morris was hired, and then back this last time when Sam Pittman was hired. But people kind of scoffed at it because he hadn't been a head coach. He was just a coordinator. Then, of course, goes to Duke, does well there, and they bring him back at Texas A&M. But he went to Penn. He's a really smart guy, and they're going to have a good defense. Though I think this will probably be a fairly low-scoring game, actually. I could see it playing out that way, but maybe kind of a deal where whoever has the ball last. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be fairly low scoring. But as we mentioned, Arkansas, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but Danny was the first person I saw that kind of brought that up about taking advantage of a freshman quarterback. And Arkansas played against a freshman quarterback against Auburn for a half, and then will play most likely against a redshirt freshman quarterback in both of those. But again, against Texas A&M. So can they capitalize on that opportunity? Arkansas has had veteran quarterbacks, like when it was Johnny Manziel, it was Tyler Wilson. Brandon Allen was a veteran quarterback. KJ Jefferson, so on and so forth. They've had veteran guys playing quarterback. Felipe Franks. All right, we're going to go to Connor now. For those of you who don't follow Connor Goodson, you should. You should follow him. Connor is at 2,999 followers. He's been with us less than a year on X. 2,999. So make it 3,000 for him. We'd appreciate that. You can read all of Connor's stuff on HawgSports. Some of it is VIP. He does a great job covering football and also is our primary basketball writer. Connor, how's it going, man?
What's up, Trey?
Not much. Just getting ready for this game. I'm going down. I'm going to fly down Saturday morning and stay the night there in Dallas, and then fly out. So I kind of justify stuff like 2 nights hotel or fly in and fly out.
Doing all that to go watch a game on TV. Man.
Basically, I may go try to sneak down in the stands a little bit. I don't cover games the way I used to, because I used to, just constantly write during a game, like write down notes and all this stuff. And, this is back more when I was, a smaller team. And now we've got you and Tyler and Danny, all kind of doing it. And all anybody really wants to see me do is a walk and talk anymore. So I kind of rushed to do that. But I might go sneak down and sit in the stands with somebody this time.
You should. I mean, there's not really a bad spot in the house.
I don't think they're going to stop me.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about this game a little bit. You asked, we do the 5 burning questions. I have it pulled up. Where is that? Keys to Victory.
I decided to have a little fun with it.
You did. And I noticed that, and I like that.
Yeah.
So let's go over the keys to victory real quick, and then we'll get to that last one there. So it's always penalties, turnovers, special teams, injuries always play a key role. Those are 4 of our 5 keys to victory. Your 5th one. Go ahead and say it.
Leave the white helmets behind, Arkansas. It sounds silly. It sounds superstitious. It's like, why does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? No, but looking at the facts, it's hard to argue with them. Arkansas's 2-12 in games when they've worn white helmets since 2012 when they introduced it. I was there at the Rutgers game when they made their debut, and that was disappointing. And I've watched it, disappointing performances countless times when they wear those white lids. So
0-4 too against Texas A&M and white helmets.
0-4 in this game specifically when they wear the white helmets, because it's usually this game that they choose to break them out for the first time.
They don't have that much better a record with red helmets on against Texas A&M. To be fair,
no, and I mentioned that point, but it's just like it's like, I don't know if it's something ingrained in my head, but it's like every time I picture something bad happening in Texas A&M games through the years, it's been the white helmets. It's like even in games where they didn't wear the white helmets, it's just like it feels like the key moments. Like Cam Little missing the field goal, KJ Jefferson's fumbling. I mean, that's just kind of ingrained in me with they're wearing all whites, and it's just. So I think that they need to wear the traditional look, or at the very least go chrome.
Yeah, I like the chrome look. I think most people like the chrome look. I think they've had success in chrome. I don't remember them wearing it, but they wore it twice or just once.
I think they wore it twice. The last time was against Colorado State, which.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, they're 500 then, I guess, with the chrome helmet. I'll never forget, though, when it was like the year they brought out the anthracite, and these loud jerseys with like skill saw on the side, on the shoulder, and then they have the what's the color? What's the gray color? It's like Spoofer's stone in Photoshop, but it's anthracite. Anthracite. But those uniforms were just so busy. They just had too much going on, and even the helmets, like the white helmet, had an artificial shade, like a fake shading in the back of the helmet. They just looked terrible. They made them look dirty.
Yeah, and early on it was just
And,
like a white hog on a white helmet.
The faded numbers too. I remember.
Oh yeah.
Jonathan Williams, I feel like maybe against Kentucky, had a really long run, and I could not tell what number was running because they were in. I believe they were in the anthracite jerseys with the faded.
Yep, and then it fades to anthracite at the bottom of it, so it was hard to tell.
I did like the white helmets when they played at Texas Tech. The first time I think I remember ever seeing them in white helmets, all white, because they were huge. They had like the biggest offensive line in college football that year. And in that white, you just look bigger in white. I just remember thinking, man, they look huge out there. And I did remember kind of liking that. But
I think that was the first time that there was the red Razorback logo on the white helmet. Before then, it was the white on white. So from a distance, it just looked like a plain white helmet with that ugly shade on the back. Yeah. So I think Bielema's first year or maybe it was the second year, was the first time that they wore the red logo, which is what the look that they've had now. But I could talk about jerseys.
Everybody wants to hear a middle-aged man talk about fashion. I will say this: what they wore last year is my least favorite look. The white helmet, the red jersey, and the white pants. I just think it looks awful. It looks so bad. I hate when they do that. Like, if you're going to wear white, you need to be in all white. But Arkansas will be in white jerseys this year, so as the away team for the last time in Arlington. All right, so let's get to your burning questions. Which Aggies QB should Arkansas get ready for? I think it looks pretty certain on Marcel Reed, don't you think?
Yeah, and you touched on it earlier in the show ad nauseum about it's probably going to be Reed and Wegman's AC joint. I remember you made a good comment on the message board about how that was Brandon Allen, the same thing that he dealt with. And he was forced to play with it, where Wegman's not going to be forced to play with it because Reed has done so good. And, we talked about Arkansas last week being able to get pressure on a inexperienced quarterback and force him into making mistakes. Well, Reed has kind of shown that through these first 2.5 games that he's really not prone to making mistakes. I don't know if he's going to be if he's been as pressured as Arkansas might be able to create on Saturday, but he's thrown 4 touchdown passes, hasn't really made any super terrible decisions through the air. So maybe a little bit smarter, more experienced quarterback that Arkansas is going to be going up against this weekend than what they were with Hank Brown, but. Definitely there's opportunity there, like you were talking about with a younger quarterback, and Arkansas is going to have to take advantage, which they have failed to do in the series so far.
And Arkansas is going to have to do a better job protecting Taylor Green also. The offensive line is without a doubt better than it was last year, especially in the run game.
Right.
But last year at this point, they gave up 11. They'd given up 11 sacks. They ended up giving 47 for the year. They give up 11 sacks, and they've given up 9 so far this year. Against pretty similar, when you compare last year's first 4 games to this year's first 4 games, there might be some give and take here and there, but it's a pretty similar schedule overall.
Yeah, and I think that some people, when we say that this offensive line is better than last year's offensive line, they immediately think that we're saying this is one of the best offensive lines ever,
right.
And that's not the case.
Still below average.
Yeah, still below average, and there's still some glaring issues. I know. Rewatching the Auburn game last week, the right side of the Arkansas offensive line was a big issue with Braun and Blackstock, and I looked, and it looks like Blackstock has given up 14 pressures so far off the edge. So, like, he's just, DJ Williams had a good video that I saw on social media about him breaking down what's really going on with Blackstock, and it's just, technique things, and guys, missing assignments is leading to these pass protection breakdowns. And I don't know if I really included this in here, but it's not just on the offensive line. The tight ends have to be better. Jaquinda Jackson has to be much better. He's a great running back. He's physical, and we've really given him a lot of praise, but he's made a lot of mental mistakes early in games. And when it comes to pass protection, other than that suplex, there were some really questionable decisions on his part in the Auburn game. So it's going to take everyone, and Sam Pittman really said that it's not necessarily all on Taylor Green's inaccuracy and decision making. He's getting a lot of pressure, and guys aren't really helping him out.
Need somebody else to step up in the passing game also. We talked about Andrew Armstrong, the success that he's had this season. Isaiah Satania has been there, and where's Luke Hasz? And Tyrone Broden is another guy you got a couple of guys starting for you that just have not been productive. And we have at least a sample size with Luke Hasz to know that he can be that. Broden he's got to step up though. I mean, or else they've just got to go find somebody else. But got to find another weapon in the pass game.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at Tyrone Broden, I mean, he is everything that you could want in a wide receiver at this level of football. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got everything. It's just he has not, these past 2 games, it's been, I believe, 9 targets is what I had him at, and he's not hauled in a single one. And at this level of football, to win games on the road, to beat teams that are ranked, you're going to have guys that can consistently go out and make those plays, and Broden just hasn't done that. And then Luke Has is kind of the opposite, where it's like we know that he can make plays and we know that he can be a weapon, but he really hasn't gotten the opportunity, whether it's from a game plan standpoint or whether it's from just stuff breaking down and pass protections and then not being able to get the ball on the plays that he's designed to get the ball
on. Your next question is, which team controls the line of scrimmage? We're going to pass over that just for time's sake, but we know that Arkansas has done pretty well doing that on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to running and stopping the run and running the ball, but hasn't gotten a lot of sacks or pressures on defense, and hasn't protected extremely well on offense. So that's got to be better. Your last question is, can Arkansas end this chapter with Texas A&M on a high note? What do you think? How do you think it's going to play out?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I kind of we all three kind of got crucified, me, you, and Danny, for picking against the Hogs last week.
Every single time I picked against Arkansas, and I get crucified. Whether or not Arkansas is the team that ends up getting crucified in the game or not, I still get it.
Yeah, and so I mean, I was, no matter my valid reason, people are still going to be upset saying you don't have faith in the Hogs, or you don't jump on the bandwagon when they win again. Mm-hmm. And it was just simple. I needed to see Arkansas go on the road and win a game. And I kind of had that same thought process with Texas A&M. And I kind of hate that I've gone away from my preseason predictions, because my preseason predictions have been pretty on the mark. I said in preseason, Arkansas would put up 31 points in a loss to Oklahoma State. UAB would put up 27 points in a loss to Arkansas in week 3. And then Arkansas would go get their first big SEC win at Auburn. And I was pretty spot on. So I think that I'm going to kind of go opposite there with the last 2 weeks. And I'm going to say that Arkansas sneaks out of AT&T Stadium with a win. They make enough plays in the end. I'm kind of with you. I think it's a low-scoring game. I think that Arkansas has the ball late, trailing, and they just get enough playmaking in that one of those last drives to go ahead and pull it out to end this madness in AT&T Stadium on a high note. I
would love to see the offense put up some big points. So, I mean, we talk about the Dallas-Fort Worth area and the players that are from there, but Bobby Petrino also coached at Texas A&M last year, and he went 3-0, by the way, as the head coach at Arkansas against Texas A&M. So that's an underrated storyline that I don't think is getting a lot of attention. Is that Bobby Petrino does pretty well in revenge games, and if you don't think that Bobby Petrino's scheming up something special for Texas A&M, you don't know Bobby Petrino. Yeah, I hear that. And I was going to make one more point just on that, but it's an interesting matchup. I'm glad this is the last time. I wasn't going to go to this game just because everybody knows my press box. I like a good press box. So I want to be in the game, but it's a different story with Texas. I mean, the press box is really immaculate. It's just very high up. In my very limited experience, a good press box makes all the difference. It really does. I want in open windows too. I hate when the windows are closed and you just feel taken away from it. I like my style of reporting is, I want to be in the game, but this is the nicest press box that I've ever been in Arlington. It's just high up, but my binoculars are actually a little too strong for Fayetteville because it zooms in a little too much. But here, it's perfect, so I can just watch the game from my binoculars, I guess. So all right, brother. Appreciate you. I would be remiss if I didn't, let everyone know that you did end up beating me for second straight season in our college football dynasty. So I got to give you props for that. I just, just bad game plan, bad execution. It was a rainy game, so I'm going to blame it on the weather. But it was rainy. Let everyone know. And Trey got the best of me this time, but we're still building up to eventually one day take him down. All right, brother. Appreciate you. All right. See you, Trey. All right, everybody. That's Connor Goodson. Follow him at Connor Goodson 24/7. HawgSports hoops analyst, and does so much more than that. And yeah, I did take him down for this. We're in year 2 of our dynasty. We've got a 12-person dynasty with HawgSports members, and we're in year 2. Razorbacks are 6-1 this year. We've knocked down Oklahoma State guy. We've knocked out Ole Miss guy, who is really good. He beat me last year. UNC guy. Who do I have coming up? I think I play Colorado next. I feel like I played somebody else. Anyway, Arkansas is number 7 in the country. How about that? With the number, I believe, 7 ranked recruiting class in the country. Like anybody really cares what's going on in my fantasy fake game. All right, let's go to Danny West. People care about Danny. Danny West is the HawgSports recruiting analyst. You can follow him at Danny West 24/7 and has been with us for a really long time. Very few people understand the recruiting game and what actually goes on in college football like Danny West. Danny, how's it going, man?
It's going. How are you?
I'm doing good. We just hopped off with Connor, broke down this game a little bit. Just kind of want to get your overall thoughts on this matchup. And I know you took a real in-depth look at that Texas A&M offense and how Arkansas's defense matches up with them.
Yeah, obviously Marcel Reed, it starts with him. He's far from being a finished product. He's only a redshirt freshman, but I think I made the comparison on Monday to Malik Hornsby. He's kind of what Arkansas wished they had gotten with Malik, back in 2020. But, he's got a 4-0 ratio, doesn't turn it over a lot. I know he's only hitting about 55% right now, but what I find most interesting, Trey, about the offense is what's happened at the center spot, with TJ Shanahan.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I forgot his name there. He went down with an injury last week against Bowling Green, but going into that, he had just replaced, and I don't want to mess up the name here, but I want to say it's Fayu is the last name. The transfer from Utah is what we're going with. But he's 6'3", 300. And my point is, Fayu. And my point is, there's got to be something to that, right? I mean, there's, he had the job, he lost it. The other guy gets hurt. Now he's going back in. I'm sure the guy can play. He's from Utah. They got a really good program, but there's got to be something to that. That means a little bit to me. So can Arkansas slow down the run? We've said it now 3 of the last 4 weeks. Can they slow down the run enough to put this game in the air and put it on the arm of Marcel Reed? That's kind of where I've seen it for the last few weeks, and that's definitely where it's shaping up now.
So much of this game, people talk about spreading things out and all this stuff, but it's so important to be very strong up the middle where, you've got your center, your quarterback, your running back, and then on the defensive side of the ball, those defensive tackles, those inside linebackers, those safeties, just being strong right up the middle is really overlooked in college football. So maybe that's an area that Arkansas can take advantage of with their center being out and having a redshirt freshman at quarterback. What else stands out to you about this game, Danny? Obviously, Arkansas hasn't played very well in it in the past, but what stands out?
Yeah, kind of a general thought. You mentioned the quarterback there. 2 weeks in a row, Trey, how often are you going to get this opportunity to find Auburn in a rebuild, A&M kind of in a rebuild, first-year head coach, both of them starting redshirt freshman quarterbacks against you in back-to-back weeks to start conference play? I see that as an opportunity. I know Marcel Reed. I've known him for a few years. He's really, really good. I'm not saying he's not. What I'm saying is you don't get these opportunities very often. You've got to get them while you can, and it just seems like this might be a little bit closer of an opportunity for Arkansas than maybe I would have expected it to be going into the year. But I think there are some big plays. You asked me what stands out. I think there's some big plays to be had in the passing game. Wouldn't surprise me if the scoring kind of went up in this one. We've seen that happen plenty of times in Arlington. But Luke has, man, I want to make a point here. We're talking about Luke. The last 2 weeks, he's had 1 catch for 3 yards.
Yeah.
And it just seems like a game like this. You remember last year, it's a chance for a payback for Luke. They ended his year last year a week after his breakout performance
first drive
against LSU. That's right. So, we've talked about it for a few weeks now. But Luke has got to get going. I know there's a lot that goes into that. You got to have time, right, to get it to him. And time is really hard to come by against these guys, or it has been.
Yep. How do you think this one's going to play out? I'm thinking, I think Connor picked Arkansas. I picked Arkansas to win this one in the preseason. So my preseason predictions right now are 3-1, and I've stuck with it so far. I did not have them winning Auburn, and that's the one I missed on. But I did pick them to beat Texas A&M in the preseason. I'm thinking somewhere around like 28-27 Arkansas, like a squeaker.
Yep. Man, I don't know yet, Trey. I was afraid you might ask me for a prediction on here, and I'm just not there yet.
Yep.
I've been going back and forth on it the last 24 hours, especially, probably overthinking it. I'm bad about doing that. So tonight, here in a few hours anyway, I'll sit down and just roll the dice. But, man, I like Arkansas's chances so far. There's a lot to like about their chances. I love that they're 1-0 in the SEC. That's a start that they don't often get. I want to say it's only a handful of times that they've been able to do that as an SEC member. That means something. I think they gained some confidence last week. And when you look at A&M, maybe they're sliding a little bit. We talk about that offense averaging 31 a game, but when you really peel back the curtain a little bit and look at the last 2 weeks, they had some gifts, against Florida. Florida gave them a short field on one of their field goals. They also had a pick six in that game. So, the 33 total there is a little bit skewed. And then last week, Bowling Green gave them one. They're about midfield anyway. It took them down and got a short field goal out of that. So, the numbers are one thing. They don't just blow you away statistically outside of that rushing attack. And the good thing for them is they don't allow a lot of tackles for loss, don't hurt themselves, not a lot of turnovers. So it's a strength on strength. Arkansas at 23rd, up from 94th in turnovers in 1 week.
Yeah.
So, and A&M not giving it up a lot. That's something to watch too.
What I find kind of crazy, I'm not saying Texas A&M isn't a top 25 team, but I am saying they have not done anything to warrant being ranked number 24 in the country. Can you imagine, Danny, if Arkansas was just ranked 24th in the nation and hadn't done anything? Like, we're coming off of what did Texas A&M, were they 6-7 last year? We're coming off a season like that, and then the next year Arkansas is just ranked, and they hadn't beaten anybody. I
wouldn't like the pressure that comes with that.
But that would just never happen for Arkansas. And Texas A&M gets the benefit of the doubt so many times, and I think they were probably ranked ahead of last year, probably ranked the year before that, and just not that they're not a top 25 caliber program. It's not what I'm saying.
How much of that,
like, have you earned that ranking yet?
How much of that is correlated to Notre Dame always being ranked way ahead of where it should be? And of course they opened with them this year and lost a pretty close game at home.
Yeah.
About 10 points.
Yeah, 10 points. And then Notre Dame the next week lets down against Northern Illinois and loses.
Bad. I mean, real bad.
And Texas A&M, they didn't play well against Bowling Green, but you can't judge a team by that. There's a couple of things I go by. You can't judge a team always by, if it's not like an early season game against a team like that, it's hard to judge them like leading up to
once they're in it,
right? Leading up to a big game, how they play against a team like that. Also, say you can't judge first-year coaches whether it's they have a lot of success or they really stink. Because if we did, then Nick Saban is a subpar coach. Steve Sarkisian is not a good coach, and Houston Nutt's maybe the best coach ever.
I would agree with all of that. Yeah,
Danny, there's some recruiting battles between these two teams.
Yeah, quite a few. A couple of the names jump right out at you. Ashton Bethel-Roman obviously signed with Arkansas in that last year's class, and one of the strangest endings and fastest endings I've seen. He signed and immediately wanted out of the letter of intent when Kenny Guyton, of course, took the job at Wisconsin. So he went ahead and signed with A&M, and I think he enrolled over the summer. So I noticed he does have one catch for 9 yards on the year. I think he got it against McNeese. So Ashton's playing a little bit. There's been quite a few guys, but I'd rather talk about some of these 2026s, Trey, that Arkansas is already battling. That's kind of the next wave, and so much of what they've been able to get on campus so far this year for that 26 class has come from the state of Texas. I think it's a really heavy, really, really important Texas cycle for 26. We're talking about KJ Edwards, running back at Carthage. Obviously, you've already got a guy. You've got a couple of guys from Carthage on the offensive line. Tykeus Crawford, and one on the way in this 25 class, Cash Courtney. You got Zayden Crimpin and Bryce Gilmore at Prosper High School down in Texas. A couple of really, really heavily recruited offensive linemen for Eric Mateos. Jordan Deck, he's a safety out of Frisco, Texas. You remember, hey, shout out to Dottie We've been on the deck before, Trey.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan Deck, and that's a pretty solid name. Shout out, Dottie. Another great name here that I'm sure Roger Scott's going to give me a lot of fun for. Jack Duckworth. Duckworth from Rockwall, Texas. So quite a few names. I could keep going. There's about 20 that I'm looking at here already offered, and most of these guys have already been on campus quite a few times for Arkansas. So pretty good list there. I haven't seen a visit list for Arkansas. I'm sorry, A&M.
Yeah.
You know, them being the home team this year, I was kind of curious to see who might be in attendance on their side. Arkansas, of course, cannot offer tickets to this one. So we'll see what A&M's visit list looks like, because it's always fun. It's normally full of Arkansas targets too, you know.
Yep. All right, Danny. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, everybody. Danny West not ready to give his score prediction just yet, but we always release those Friday morning officially on HawgSports, where you can sign up right now at HawgSports.com for 30% off. Join the #1 independent source on Arkansas sports and recruiting for just $6.27 a month, billed at only $75.18 for the entire year. That's a discount of $44.22. Okay. And also, sign up at Ozarks Go. If you're interested in getting better internet service, these guys, I've been using them for over 3 years, almost 4 years now, but over 3, I know, before they were ever a sponsor of the show. I've had 3 other companies that I've used, at least 3, in my time as a user of internet since the 90s, I guess. And I've had issues with every single one of them, whether it's cutting out, or I remember one of them sent me some old modem, and ESPN, for some reason, on my Apple TV was just blurry for the whole time. They're like, yeah, we've had that problem, and just like nothing to fix it. So when I moved the last time, I made a decision to switch, and I'd heard good things about Ozarks Go. You can reach out to them at 479-684-4900. Go visit them at ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG. Use the promo code BIDDY1 if you're a first-time subscriber to Ozarks Go, and you can get 1 month free. Okay. Up next, we're going to Arlington. I will be doing the walk and talk from field level at AT&T Stadium. Hopefully it'll be an enjoyable one. Will I bring another wrestler into the fold? Maybe the Macho Man. I don't know. I'm probably not going to do any more wrestling takes, but it did make me think of Hulk Hogan in that one. And that's it. That's the show. So I think Arkansas wins a close one. That's where I'm at right now. That's what I predicted in the preseason. I just think they have an opportunity to take advantage of a redshirt freshman quarterback who is going to make some plays. Doubt it, no doubt. But maybe Arkansas can force him into some mistakes too. And then I'm really interested to see what Bobby Petrino's offense looks like. Taylon Green obviously needs to be better than 44% completion percentage. If Taylon Green is like 60% completion percentage, I think Arkansas wins this one walking away. So we'll see how it plays out. Go sign up at HawgSports.com. Thanks to Danny West. Thanks to Jeff Tarpley. Thanks to Connor Goodson. Thank you to all of you for tuning in and making this show what it is. And that's it. That's the show today. Appreciate you joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. And we will, if I can find my closer, catch you next time.